Hello, happy Saturday. We have another Saturday food support group. And I gotta tell you guys, I am just so blessed. I am obviously traveling, but I'm so blessed that the whole reason why I left earlier this morning was because I knew I wanted to stop and to have this meeting. Because you guys you're just one of my favorite parts about the whole week, to be able to just connect with you guys and to talk about all the things and to support you and have you guys support me. It's such a blessing. Um, so I wanted to start off today with really encouraging you to conserve your energy. I have had so many people, this last video went viral and it's got now 92,000 views. And so many people are commenting in the video that they are frustrated with people who don't see this. They're frustrated with people that are continuing to just shovel in donuts and cakes and ramen noodles and soda and chips, and wondering why they have diabetes or why they're, sick, why they have autoimmune disease, why they have mental illness. And my biggest thing is to conserve your energy and to focus on you. Because most people who are here are just brand new here. They've only been here for a couple of years, a couple of months, a couple of days. And so we want to, once we realize all of this, we want to save the world. We want to go and tell everybody all the things and to rescue everybody. But you have to put that oxygen mask on yourself first. And you have to talk to the people who want to hear what you have to say. For you to sit there, it almost becomes abusive for you to sit there and to judge and correct other people constantly. And they're not going to hear you. You have to set back, be you, stay on your own course, focus on your health, and let them come to you. I know it's hard. I know that you want to go and you want to rescue everyone and save the world. But honestly, it's the best route for you to just focus on yourself. It says even in the scriptures, don't go get the splinter out of your neighbor's eye when you have a log in your eye. That's a really good lesson. We have to focus on what we're doing first. And who knows? You've been doing this for 3 months. Great. But you might fall off the wagon tomorrow. So you got to really focus on where you're at until they come to you. Then you can share with them what your experience is. But to berate somebody else and judge somebody else and really abuse somebody else is really not helpful. Kristen says, another good one from the Bible. Yeah, is don't cast your pearls before swine. I love that. All right. Well, we are going to get started. And first, we have a question from Becky about the CAC score. And Tom is our resident expert on that due to his life experience. So Tom, what can you tell us to be looking for with those scores?
Yeah, thanks a lot, Emily. Appreciate it. Good question, Becky. I'm glad you guys went and got your scores done. You should already have the scores by now, by the way. It's probably ready, available to you if you were to go onto, the whatever site they use for, I think it's a health chart, wherever your health chart is. I bet you can go in there and get them like right this second. But okay, what is a CT calcium score? Commonly known as a CAC or CAC-CT. It's a CT scan of your heart. And what it does is it tells you how much calcium deposit you may have in your arteries. And that level of calcium deposit is basically a determinant of how much risk you have to heart attack. So when should you do the CT calcium score? I think everybody should do the CT calcium score. I don't care who you are, what your current health is, just to get a current snapshot of your heart. So if, let's just say, for instance, that you have a CT calcium score of 0, that means you have a well, they say in the if you go onto different websites, it'll say low risk of heart attack. Basically, you have very little of no risk of a heart attack if you have a calcium score of 0. So if you have a calcium score of 0, that is your ammunition to push back on a doctor when they try to put you on a statin medication. You tell them, there's no reason for me to be on a statin. I've got a 0 calcium score. I have very low risk of heart attack. Why do I want to endure all those side effects for that? So typically the scores are 0 to like 400, depending. Some places like my when I did my test, it was in the thousands, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, whatever. I don't know why they do it that way. If you go in the Mayo Center, they do 0 to 400. Let's just say you're 400. If you're a 400, you're at a high risk for a heart attack. So if you're 200, you're a moderate risk, whatever. Anything above a 0, you have some risk. So what do you do then when you have this, if you have a score above 0? Still don't take statins, just my recommendations. I'm not a doctor, but I'm just telling you, don't take statins. Do a lot of research first before you start taking those pills. The next test you want to do, and don't let a cardiologist do a nuclear stress test. A nuclear stress test is a total waste of time. It's a ridiculous test. No reason why they even do it. My heart surgeon at the University of Maryland even said it was a stupid test. Because what it's going to do for you? It could give you a heart attack while you're freaking running. I had 100% blockage, and I'm running on the treadmill trying to get my heart rate up, but I can't get it up. So what do you want me to do? Just drop dead right there? So there's no reason for a nuclear stress test. So what's the next test that you need to do? The next test you need to do is called a left heart scan, catheterization scan. Excuse me, not a scan, but it's a left heart catheterization. What they do is they put a probe up your artery, and they feed it to your heart, and they inject dye to see if you have any blockages. They do in either the groin area. Mine was like right here. They put it in here, and then they run it around. So they inject that dye. You can tell right away if you have blockages. And if you have some blockages, they can address it right there. They can put a stent in, or if it's a minor blockage, they can say, well, we have to keep an eye on this. But the CT calcium score is going to give you, one, either peace of mind or keep you alive, so you're not waiting until this cardiologist just keeps giving you statins and all this other crap until you freaking have a heart attack, and they say, oh, well, you need a bypass now, and now that you've had a heart attack. So my situation, I got lucky because I forced the doctors. Well, I don't want to say I forced. I just kept saying, I want to do this test, I want to do that test. So when I did the left heart catheterization, they said, you need a bypass, my friend. You have 100% blockage on you. So I was admitted that right there, right after I was done with the test, and had the surgery a few days later. But so I got a 4-vessel bypass. That was because of my standard American diet, eating forever. I wish I'd have known what I know now and started years ago. But as far as tests go, to answer Becky's question and to stay narrow what Emily wants us to do, CAC score, most important. If the doctor says, let's do a nuclear stress test, I would say I would really, really like to do the calcium score first. Because when you have that 0, then if you have that 0 score, you could say, I don't need to do the stress test. I don't need to do the left heart catheterization yet. But now you still may be metabolically unhealthy. And so then you can concentrate on trying to, get your type 2 diet. If you have type 2 diabetes, reverse that, which I did on carnivore. Fatty liver disease, which I reversed on carnivore. So those, it's the metabolic health is really the important thing. So, if you have any questions about that, Becky, you can just shoot me some emails, whatever. But you should be able to get your test right now. I guarantee you can go and look at it right this second if you have access to my chart. So that's all I have.
Awesome. So well done, Tom. Thank you. That was perfect. And man, I am so grateful that you're alive. I am so grateful that you thrived and that you survived, and that you are just such a living testimony to, getting away from the sugar and the processed foods. And you literally saved your own life. So amazing. And the next question we have from Becky is about eating disorders. And so we have another resident expert. And so Monica, I would love for you to share about eating disorders.
Thank you. The first thing I want to say, obviously, my disclaimer is this is my opinion. This is what I've seen in my life, and take it for what it is. And really stems on what Emily just said and how individual it was. I clearly had an eating disorder as someone that was over 400 pounds, but I was also surrounded by people that said, you don't eat like a fat girl, because I didn't eat large meals and people didn't see me shoving food in all the time. And it wasn't because I was doing it a lot in hiding. Not to say that I never did it in hiding. I absolutely did that. I absolutely was a person that took food back out of the trash can. I did all of the things, but going into rooms like Overeaters Anonymous and listening to people get up and introduce themselves with the way their disorder was, I learned that there were so many different names and it looked so many different ways for each person. So for me, I got to learn that I was a compulsive overeater through grazing. I learned that I did not need to be hungry to eat. I knew what full felt like. I didn't know what hunger felt like. So I would eat and I would get full. And I knew that feeling and I would stop eating. But I might not have completed what was on my plate. And it sat there. And as soon as I didn't feel full, I took another couple of bites of it because I guess in my mind, this was the portion that I was supposed to eat and I hadn't completed it. So I would take a few more bites, I'd feel full again, and I would stop eating. And I would work on that meal over a period of time until it was all gone. And it taught me that it was important that I recognized my signals, my cues, what I did in terms of my eating, and not compared it to someone else, which is another lesson that I learned that actually, and maybe unfortunately, took me out of the rooms of Overeaters Anonymous, because many, many people there had an issue with sugar. I do not. I am a savory over a sweet. And therefore, my sponsor could not understand that I could buy a roll of cookies and slice off two to bake them and kind of not even feel like them before they finish baking. But again, the compulsiveness in me, I'd eat one cookie because I baked them and the other would go in a baggie for days. But if I honestly admitted to my sponsor that I ate a cookie, she had a fit. She couldn't understand it. It wasn't my trigger foods. I had to learn what foods trigger me, what foods created my compulsion. And that was my thing. I could go to, let's say, McDonald's every single day for a month and get the same thing, even when it no longer tasted good. I did it because I have a compulsion. And so I had to not allow myself to go to any place. And I could do it with a salad. I could get a salad and say, wow, that was really delicious. I'm going to get another one tomorrow for lunch. And then I'm getting it on the third day and I'm going, it didn't taste as good as the first 2 days. But on the fourth day, I went back and got that salad. And as soon as that behavior came into place, as soon as it came into place, it had to be cut off. And it was like, I can't have that salad, because anything for me that takes me to that place of compulsion, takes me to that place that I'm going to graze on it, I can't have. And so I had to learn that it's individualistic. I can have many foods that other people can't have. And other people can have foods that I can't have. And so for me, my biggest takeaways is, number one, I have to be real with myself at all times. Number two, I have to know my issues and the behaviors that are attached to those. And number three, when I recognize it, and a big part of it is when I start to compromise with myself, I know that it's a problem. And I have to stop it in its tracks. And I think that those things, although somewhat general, can help anybody to just know that, recognize your triggers, recognize, are you contemplating and saying, oh, this will be okay? Because as soon as you're starting to compromise with yourself, you got to ask yourself why, and recognize what triggers you and tailor your life to you and what works and doesn't work for you. And don't let somebody else tell you what it has to be just because it's that way for them. And I think when we know that for ourselves, we can work a better program for ourselves, even within carnivore, keto, ketovore, whatever we choose, even the standard American diet. If there's a food that we are allergic to that could cause us such an ill reaction, there's no question about that, even if a million other people can eat it. So for me, the things I can't have, in my mind, I'm allergic to that and I can't eat it. It also shuts people up when they try to force you to eat something you don't want to. But that's how I've come to look at it, is I'm allergic to those foods. Those foods do not serve my body in a healthy way. And anything that serves it negative, I must be allergic to. And therefore, it's okay to not have them, because I get so many wonderful choices. Even at carnivore, there's so many great meats out there, so many great ways to prepare them. And I don't feel deprived at all. So I just wanted to kind of share that a little bit, because Becky asked about talking about eating disorders, and they don't come the same way for all of us. So I hope that was helpful, Becky.
Oh, Becky, you're muted.
Yeah, I was gonna say thank you for sharing. I appreciate that. Yeah, because we were talking about, wait, I lost everybody's face. And how we respond for, like, maybe sometimes you're transferring your one addiction. If you've had an addiction of food, you might transfer it to shopping or smoking or other things that can be negative to each other, to ourselves. And so, so like you were saying, the compulsion, and then also we're talking about the component of seeking food as comfort, where it really should be nourishment, and not, like Dr. Cyrus says too, that it's like snacking can be an emotional, you're not hungry because you ate till you're full and your body's nourished. And that when you're snacking, then it's more like an emotional component, and you're need to find other ways to comfort yourself.
Absolutely. I believe that any time that there is a food that is calling you, or a thought that is torturing you, that is an emotional response. That is a sign that there's something else that you need to address. And it is tricky. It is absolutely difficult to really navigate that. And there's sometimes I even eat healthy foods in a non-sober way. I have to, specifically for me personally, cottage cheese and full fat Greek yogurt. I have to set limits, and I have to not allow myself to have a tub of that in the refrigerator and allow myself to just eat it as much as I want. I measure it out and I limit it, because I will eat the entire carton. I will eat 3 cartons. I eat it in a non-sober way. And that doesn't feel good, even though I might not have any, adverse effects or anything, except for a couple of zits. It's so important to me to keep my head clear, and to recognize that if I'm running to those things and I'm trying to comfort myself with food, that's an emotional response. And so I need to do the work on myself emotionally to go, okay, what am I searching for? Why is my body, trying to basically throw a behavior, like a little tantrum, like a 2-year-old? Okay, what's the tantrum for? What's wrong? What's going on? What needs do you need to have met? So I hope that helps, Becky. And then we have a question, actually 2 questions now, but we'll start with your first question. Belkis, can you give us a little bit of a background for where you're at, and then your question?
Yes, of course. I was a vegan for a long time, about 3 to 4 years. And it looks like it caused a lot of issues because I've been having candida. I have a lot of things that I'm not, it's going to take time to explain you. My body
I
hasn't,
understand.
I haven't feel, ever since I got my kids, I had a couple of surgeries and I haven't feel well in years. Anyways, I started keto. I lost a little bit of weight and I felt a little bit, I felt a bit better, but now I still have my tummy issues. Then I went carnivore and I haven't lost a single pound. And my upper stomach is always inflamed when I eat. Unless, like, the only thing that I see that works for me is when I don't eat during a long, I mean, in terms of not getting that much bloated, is when I eat like I don't eat in a very long time, like about 24 hours or something like that. But my brain is still not there. It's still not supporting my body in that regard. So I'm not sure why I'm not having sugar. I'm not having carbs. I'm not sure why carnivore is not working.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your question. And Amy, I would love to hear you weigh in on that. And if you guys don't know, you can reach Amy at Carnivore's Angel. And actually, I'm sorry, now on YouTube, it is Amy.
It's still Carnivore's Angel. Like, my logo is still the same, but I changed the name itself to Amy Low Carb Prepper, but also Carnivore's Angel because life. That's why. Belkis,
Awesome.
welcome. We're so happy to have you here. And I understand our journeys can be so complex and so overwhelming to even just try to communicate. So thank you. You did a fantastic job. I think a lot of people assume that carnivore is the answer, and they hope that it is the answer. I am one of those people that was like, carnivore is the answer. It is the way. It is going to work. It's going to fix everything, and it's going to be amazing. I know a lot of people who are kind of in the same boat, and they were very quiet about it because they didn't want the backlash. But for everyone, carnivore is not the perfect answer. We assume that carnivore is going to be like when you clean your room and you collect everything and you shove it all in the closet and you close the closet door and the room looks fantastic. You have no symptoms. You have no anything. For a lot of people, they're perfectly fine. And it's like, yeah, carnivore fixed everything. But for some of us, that door keeps popping open. And our symptoms keep coming back, and then we get new symptoms, and then something else shows up, and we're like, okay, why is the carpet soggy in my room? I can't clean that up and shove it in the closet. There's something else going on. So I have this saying, if food alone wasn't what harmed you, food alone may not be able to fix you. So while, yes, you were vegan for 3 or 4 years, and it may have caused a bunch of problems, what else could have been an issue? What about the pesticides or herbicides that were sprayed on the plants that you were eating? What about GMOs? What about toxic chemicals that are in our environment? From simply sitting in this chair and with carpet, I'm getting exposed to all kinds of things like bromide. It's a fire retardant that's sprayed in our computers, in our chairs, everywhere to try to keep us safe. But that off gases and gets into our bodies, it can cause all kinds of issues. Now, you mentioned that you have candida overgrowth and those things. You can't generally fix those. Candida, SIBO, H. pylori overgrowth. There's so many gut microbiome balances that just aren't fixed with food. Unfortunately, I actually had a really pretty good gut microbiome until I went carnivore. And my body is one that I probably could have eaten enough collagen every single day to feed my gut flora, but I didn't have the ability to do that. I didn't have the funds to buy the collagen powder, and I didn't have the gumption to eat a pound of chicken wings every single day to make sure that I got enough collagen. So my gut microbiome got really unbalanced. And that's when I began having new and different problems. Now, not the original problems that I was having, but I got new and different ones. So I had to find what worked for me. And for me, it involved a whole lot of trial and error, and I couldn't figure it out and nothing worked until finally I discovered muscle testing. And through working with Emily, we have been able to use something called the body code, which I have the book cover right here because I take off my covers. The body code. And this has allowed us to do what's called muscle testing. And we can tap into my subconscious, into my body to find out what I actually need. And I would love to say that there is a blanket statement, fix, Band-Aid, patch for everybody. Just eat meat and get better. For some people, it works. And I am so grateful to those people that it worked for them, because then they don't have to go through the struggle to figure out what it is. But it's not necessarily that carnivore isn't working. It's that carnivore may not be enough. And there might be other things like grounding. You may need to start a prebiotic that you are actually taking that's supporting the good microbiome. You may need to do something like do a SIBO treatment. If you have SIBO, I have H. pylori, and I am currently drinking a very specific tea twice a day, an hour before or after food, to make sure that I can try to kill that off without going the antibiotic route. So there's so many different things that we have to look at. Unfortunately, there is no one answer. A lot of mine, actually, the bloating at the top of the stomach, that can be one of the symptoms of an H. pylori overgrowth. Well, the only way you can find out is if you get testing. And for some people, that can be very expensive. So that's why it was so fantastic to be able to do the body code, because it could kind of tell us what's going on. And a lot of the things that we discovered with my muscle testing was confirmed with those tests. But I spent thousands of dollars on tests. And all I had, go ahead.
Me too. I've been doing different therapies for years, and I've spent a lot of money, and no one can tell me what is going on. I had H. pylori a long time ago, and I got treated, but I'm not sure.
And that could be, it could have come back. It could be a SIBO overgrowth. It could be so many other things that are causing it. It's really hard, because when you get those tests and then you try to fix it, and sometimes it just doesn't work. Sometimes our bodies don't play nice. And so it's not that carnivore isn't working. You just may need to add a little something extra to it.
Okay.
And then Belkis, you had a second question that you put in the chat. Can you repeat that?
Yeah, I'm sorry. You said only one, but that worries me a lot.
It's okay. Go ahead.
By my knees, by where the veins are in the inner part of the leg, I'm experiencing a lot of palpitations, and I'm trying to intake the fat. And it hurts. Sometimes it hurts at night. And I'm not sure where that's coming from.
So another problem, sounds like you're very similar to me. Another problem that I ran into is I was not able to get enough of the vitamins and nutrients from the food that I was eating, because I am not able to pull those things out and then utilize them. So magnesium is one of the things that I have to take that has made a huge difference, specifically with my knees. And my leg cramps were so intense at night that I would wake up and have to jump up out of the bed because the Charlie horses were so bad. So for some carnivores, they don't need any supplements. No salt, that's it. They're good. For other ones, we have to take electrolytes, magnesium, potassium, sodium. We have to take other things to help balance our bodies, because unfortunately, not all of us are starting from the same place. which is why the one size fits all just, it doesn't work. And I've had quite a few people tell me, well, if you just, I've tried it all. And I think one of the reasons that happens is so that I can say, I did try it to the very best of my ability. Don't give up. You just have to tweak. You have to find what's going to work for you. The high fat can be very helpful, but I believe the statistic is like 92% of the world is magnesium deficient already on a standard American diet. And that's where you are retaining your electrolytes because you're retaining fluid. So as soon as we go to a low carb or carnivore way of eating, we flush a lot of that fluid, including our electrolytes. So now we went from already being pretty subpar on our magnesium levels to dangerously low. That can start to affect your heart. It can affect your brain. It can cause some pretty severe issues if you do not get it under control. So a lot of carnivores, if they're really trying to be super strict, they'll say no electrolytes, no supplements. You can get everything from your food. But that's only if your body's actually going to work properly. And mine has a lot of baggage. It's been through a lot. And I have a lot of things that have prevented it from doing what it's supposed to do. It doesn't play nice. So I have to supplement with magnesium every single night, sometimes a couple of times a day in different forms. That does help. You could try that for your knees. Wendy said that water pills can also make magnesium depletion far worse. Thank you for that, Wendy. So much fun. There's so many things that can be affecting us, but I would say try to start with the magnesium. I take like 400 to 600 milligrams of magnesium glycinate at night. It can help you sleep. There's probably 20 different forms of magnesium. They all do different things.
I do take it.
You do? How much are you taking?
1 moment. Let me see. I got a magnesium complex. It has a few forms of magnesium. Last night, it says 1 pill. Last night I took 3, and I still like only sleep a couple of hours and then wake up and no more. It's all night long up. All night long up, and then thanks God, I lost my job, and then I'm able to sleep in the morning, but otherwise I don't know how I will be able to go to work because it's only a few hours of sleep.
Yeah.
This is a pretty good one. It's not cheap, so I don't know.
Yeah, you can try adding different forms of magnesium, but it sounds like there's a lot of imbalances that you're going to have to figure out. And going based off of just symptoms is really hard.
I do have a lot of things, all the things that my body is not going to work properly, probably in a long time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we can make suggestions. There's several books you could use: the Emotion Code, the Body Code, Splunkna Therapy. The Body Code is by far, you can actually do this yourself. If you can't work with someone else, you can hire someone that you can work with them that are a certified practitioner. You can work with Emily. She's not certified, but she is darn good in this stuff. And you can do this yourself. You can actually buy this book, and it walks you through understanding the science behind what's going on in your body. And then you can do it for yourself. You can actually go through and try to start to figure out what's wrong. It'll give you things like you need to add, for me, one of them was yellow dock root. I don't even know what that is, but it told me to add it. So I now drink yellow dock root, a half a teaspoon every couple of days in a tea. And what it's doing to my body, I don't know, but I'm trusting that my body communicated that well and that it's all going to be working for my good. So if you can't afford to work with anyone, then you can absolutely go and try to do it yourself to see if you can get some answers that aren't, tests that just tell you, yep, you got a problem and now you got to figure out what to do about it. This seems to be a fairly better, at least for me, it's a better approach because I not only find out what's wrong, but I also get steps to start working in the right direction to be able to fix it.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you for those questions,
you.
Belkis. I'm so glad that you're here.
Thank you so much. I'm more glad that you invited me. Thank you.
Oh, good. And thank you, Amy. You are a wealth of knowledge, and I'm so grateful for your input. Also in the chat, Wendy added that hummus became a food that she could not eat soberly. And so, you just never know. You never know what that food is that's going to cause a problem. And so I love that you're aware of that, Wendy, and you said that Elvis left the building. So thanks for sharing that. And also Kevin had an interesting bout with trying to remove coffee. I don't think Kevin's still in the meeting, but it's a tricky battle. It's not something that is a straight path with addiction. And caffeine addiction can be just as difficult as any kind of a food addiction, because caffeine's a drug. And so it's really important to take things at your pace. And one thing that I want to encourage you with, Belkis, is that you're here. You're reaching out to a support group, and you're on this path. And all of us are on this path. None of us here are right now, elbow deep in a box of donuts. We're here. You wouldn't be here if you wanted to give in to your cravings, if you wanted to just go, oh, okay, this is the way that it is. I'm just gonna eat the standard American diet and get on the medications and be ill. We're here because we want to make a change. And so I commend all of you guys for being here and for having this conversation, and for continuing to really reach out and to support others. So is there anyone else, either in the chat or here, you can just raise your hand, who has a question or an update, or something that they wanted to add before we go? No? All right. Well, thank you guys so much. Thank you that I can still join in even though I'm traveling. I absolutely. Oh, Shelly, go ahead, Shelly.
I sent a personal message to Belkis, but I don't know if she'll see it or if she knows like how to get it. And I also put a comment in the chat, but I don't know if she would have seen that or not.
No, I haven't seen it. Let me check. Thank you.
Okay, Belkis, yeah, they're in the chat. You just hit the chat button, and Shelly wrote something specifically to you there, to everyone, and then also in a private message.
I don't know how to find the message. I'm here. I'm in the chat button, but I don't see the Shelly. Okay, Shelly Rubio. I see.
Yes. Okay, awesome. Thank you, Shelly. That's so kind of you. One of the things that I love about having a group is that, we really do want to help each other. We really do want to support each other. And that just means so much to me, Shelly, that you wanted to reach out to her. So with that, I am going to wish you guys a happy Saturday, and thank you so much for spending this time with me every Saturday. We are always here, and reach out to any of us. You can send me a message. You can send Amy a message. And I'm just so grateful. All right, you guys have a good Saturday. I'll see you next time.